plant of the week is going to be substituted for a disease of the week because with all this extra sun and humidity, we're noticing a few diseases pop up in the greenhouses. So I was going to talk a little bit about those.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, we're taking a break from the new plant of the week and we're going to focus on powdery mildew, which is it's a disease that infects plants due to a few different factors. So we'll kind of talk about that. So first off, powdery mildew, it's easily noticeable as a white kind of chalky or powdery growth that's on the leaf surfaces. It can even be kind of on the stems of plants, and even on some of the lower leaves, which is a little bit harder to notice.
Does it turn
But
like black too, or brown?
so what ends up happening is that powdery mildew, it lives inside the leaf, and then when the conditions become like when it becomes habitable for it to spore, that's when you notice all the powdery white chalky stuff on the top of the leaves. But before it gets there, you'll notice kind of like a little bit of dark spotting on the leaves. But that could also be a lot of other things as well. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about kind of how to go about noticing it in just one second. But I was just gonna say it's a fungus and it grows in and absorbs nutrients from living cells of the plant. So powdery mildew grows inside the host and often causes yellow or purpling patches similar to nutrient deficiencies until the conditions are favorable for the spore growth and the development of the spores, and that's when you notice that chalky white on top of the leaves. What are the favorable conditions for powdery mildew? Those are going to be large temperature fluctuations of really warm days and cool nights with high relative humidity. So you'll notice this especially in the wintertime in greenhouses where the humidity levels are really high around the plant, but the plant itself isn't wet. It's kind of more on the dry side. That's when powdery mildew can inhabit or infect the plant, and then you'll see the disease pop up.
Yeah, one of my jade plants had some dark. Looked like the leaf was dying. It was like brown, and so I had
Okay.
tore it off, and but I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
I've had any
So
mildew yet.
that's the nice thing about powdery is that you can get rid of it. It's just kind of difficult, but it's not like a end of everything kind of thing.
So,
In the greenhouse,
so
it can be really hard to get rid of because there's so many plants and it can hide on pretty much every part of the plant. It's a little bit different.
so I have my two nice jade plants and then two smaller ones that I got maybe from you. I can't remember.
Hmm.
Um, should I They're in the same pot. Should I separate them?
No, you don't need to separate them.
Okay.
The only thing that I would say is that so succulents are pretty resistant to powdery mildew. They have a very
Yeah.
waxy leaf and they can kind of shed the water and the humidity pretty well.
Cool. And I don't even know if that was the mildew that you're talking about, but it just was like the leaf was. It seemed like it was dying. It was brown and kind of like
Hmm.
soft, and so I was like, okay, I'll just tear it off. And
Yeah, and sometimes those jade plants, they'll have lower leaves die off like that because they're just making room for new growth, basically. So they'll all the leaves will die off on the trunk and then they'll get a woody stalk and then they'll grow more leaves on
yeah,
top.
nice.
Um, so powdery mildew is primarily spread by wind, but it can also be spread by splashing water. So just kind of be aware if you are watering something with powdery, maybe water it away from your other stuff. And even keep it away from your other stuff because, yeah, the spores are going to get all over. If you find powdery mildew on your plants, there's still hope. Some home remedies are baking soda, which is a teaspoon per quart, or you can also use
Baking
a
soda.
vinegar solution. Yeah, baking soda. You can also use a vinegar solution, which is just a tablespoon per gallon. Or then another solution that people have found helpful is milk. And
Hmm.
it's 1 part milk to 4 parts water. And basically, with any of those remedies, what you're going to do is you're just going to put it in kind of a spray bottle, and you're going to spray and spray and get every part of the plant. Get underneath the leaves, get on the stem, get on top. Because what that is going to do is it's just going to allow, or it's going to create a habitat where powdery mildew isn't going to thrive and actually can't really thrive. So it'll just kind of suffocate it or suppress it to the point where it dies out. In addition, prune all the infected leaves to increase airflow. Well, you prune all the infected leaves to remove the powdery, and then that also increases airflow, which is going to help lower the relative humidity around your plant, which is going to cause the powdery mildew to not show up. So the last thing is that I'll just tell you where it's kind of common to find powdery mildew. It's common on a lot of the garden vegetables, such as like squashes, pumpkin. I mean, pumpkin is a squash, but squashes, beans, peas. And then you're also going to find it on zinnias, begonias, chrysanthemums, roses, sunflowers, and dahlias. Those are kind of some common plants that you'll notice them on. But yeah, if you guys have any powdery questions or need any advice, I'm always open to look at stuff and give some recommendations because I always just like looking at plants and what's going on with them. So let me
All
know.
about the powder,
Yeah,
huh?
that white
No,
powder.
it's and the snow kind. Man, they got a lot of snow on the mountain. That's really cool. That's interesting and good information for people to take care of their plants for sure. Um,
Yeah. Basically, the
uh,
key is just water your plants correctly, um, and make sure that you have decent airflow. Those are kind of the two big factors to it.
huh. Yeah, it's what? How often do you have to deal with it at the shop?
It depends. If you're good at watering and you're not making mistakes, you should only see it on the problematic crops. If you're watering late in the day and you're not getting your humidity levels down, you're going to be seeing it pop up on tons of stuff, and then you're just going to be spraying and making more work for yourself. So I've had a
Fun.
couple crops this year with them,
Yeah.
with powdery. Yeah.
Mm. And what's the timeline?
Just kind of depends how bad it is. Sometimes it's so bad that you just scrap them all because I deal with trays of plants that have about 98 to 200 plants per tray. So chances are, even if you spray all of those really well, it's really easy to miss just one tiny part, and that's all it takes for the next powdery spread to happen. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Good information on how to take care of your plants, y'all.
yeah, and oh yeah, people also they use sulfur bombs quite a bit to deal with powdery. You'll see that a lot on like marijuana grows, any kind of like indoor grow. If you see powdery pop up, you're gonna see sulfur bombs, which is basically just they'll they smoke sulfur inside the tent to where it's uninhabitable for the powdery to grow on the leaves because the sulfur is just too much for it, and the sulfur doesn't hurt the plant. So
That's
it's kind
cool.
of like a happy medium between the two.
Yeah, I dig that.
Yeah.
And then we were going to talk about some bonsai.
Yeah, I know you've been kind of getting into some plants and then also a little bit into bonsai, and that's really
Yeah, I
cool.
feel like I feel like it's I'm to the point now. I feel good about where I am with the growth of my plants for the most part, and so I want to take that next challenge, that next step. And
Yeah.
but the thing is in my research, and you mentioned this the other day too, is um, the juniper bonsai needs to have that dormancy period, and so that's a lot harder to
Mm.
deal with in the winter. Um, a lot of people plant theirs outside, but in Montana, you probably can't do that because it gets to negative 30 degrees sometimes, you know. So that's been almost one reason I was considering not getting the juniper or the hornbeam.
Hmm.
Um,
No matter whatever one you get, you're gonna be putting it in a pot, so you'll be able to take it like inside and outside, because
mhm.
that's kind of like the only way that you're able to keep the plant small enough. Because when you put it in the ground, it basically, it grows so many roots. There's no way to control the roots, and so then you're kind of just left with this like tree. Because a bonsai tree is just, it's a real tree, but
Yep.
basically the way that they keep it so small is just through pruning and other like methods to kind of shape it and design a mini tree that's aesthetically pleasing. It's really cool.
Yeah. Um, but then I was looking into the jade bonsai, which just seems a lot easier because it's a tropical bonsai,
Hmm.
and it doesn't have to go through, from what I understand, the dormancy period.
Yeah, no, jades are like a house plant, so you're able to just kind of grow it indoors year round without needing to deal with seasonal
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, but with the juniper, so what if I were to do it, or if anyone's to do a juniper or a hornbeam or something like that, you know, so
Hmm.
you have it through the summer months, living outside, most
Hmm.
likely, in the
Yep.
pot, which makes me nervous around here because it gets so windy. Blow that thing
Yeah,
right off.
usually people kind of make a corner or something, that's
Yeah,
it's a little sheltered.
yeah, and so I'd live it, most likely outside all summer, right?
Hmm.
And then the dormancy period is what's interesting to me because I have the garage I could set the tree in, but it'd have to be in there probably what from November all the way to May.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
And you probably have to bring it in at nights. Even in like October and September, you'd probably be like, you might be able to leave it out, but if it got like below 20 degrees, you probably want to bring it into your garage. And then if
oh
it got warm
gosh,
during the day again, you'd probably be playing a little bit of back and forth unless you had either artificial light or like a really nicely lit area, be
yeah,
a
and so
window
like
or something.
the garage has a north facing window, so it doesn't get that much light in the winter, and
Hmm.
that probably wouldn't work for it, right? Because it still needs light.
Probably not. You'd probably need a light.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've been going back and forth with that. I might start with the jade bonsai and just see how I feel about it because it'd be a lot easier to take care of, and then
I
move
think
on to
that's a good
maybe a
idea.
juniper or hornbeam. I like everyone likes the aesthetic of the juniper, but so many people get it without realizing it has all of this work that needs to be done, and yeah, it's just
Hmm.
yeah.
And the hornbeam's even harder.
Is it?
The
What makes
juniper's
it
like
more difficult?
the juniper's more forgiving in terms of like, especially seasonally and the dormancy period, it doesn't need to be as specific, whereas like the hornbeam, it's just going to be a little bit more sensitive, it's going to be a little bit more finicky, and you're probably going to need to, I would say that that one's probably more of like a second or third bonsai tree that you would want to try instead
The
of your
hornbeam.
first, because you might end up dying. Yeah, the
Yeah,
hornbeam.
I saw this really cool one. It was I think it was, I don't. I was doing research. It was like 20 grand, I think. Um,
Jeez, dude.
and it was so pretty. All the flowers were like orange on it. The leaves on it were like orange,
Ah,
and it was so cool. I wish I could
had
find it.
flowers. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah,
I follow a bunch of pages. I'll start tagging you in them because I didn't realize you like bonsais. Well, I mean, you're kind of getting into them now, so I'll start showing you what I see. But there's one guy who has one, and it's probably in a pot that's 4 or 5 feet long and maybe like 2 or 3 feet wide, and they're all like really shallow because you want to keep the roots kind of small so that the tree doesn't get too big, basically. But he has it's like a forest. It's like 10 or 15 mini, like they're mini pine trees basically, but they're like 50 to 80 years old, and it's like an actual like living little forest that he has. That's crazy.
Could you do something with like an aspen, or you can do it with any tree, right? With a cottonwood, with a pine.
Yeah, I haven't looked into like as far as I haven't looked into any other trees other than kind of the ones that are more commonly used for it, but I would assume that you could. You just kind of have to probably use a few different methods or techniques because it all depends on how the tree grows. So,
Yeah.
like where you cut it, how you cut it.
You know, how cool it would be to have like a pot like that, and then all these little aspens just growing up. Oh, it'd be so sick because
Yeah.
their root system is so crazy, the way they communicate and all that. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, aspens are insane, dude. It's like one living organism, I think,
Yeah,
because all of their roots are kind of connected. And then in addition, if one's like not doing so well or one doesn't get the nutrients it needs, they can send nutrients or other things through the root system to that tree to kind of like take care of it.
that's cool. I
It's
have
crazy.
to. I'm going to. I have to. We're gonna cut some firewood. I have my friend Mitch is gonna come over, and we're gonna split some firewood today. And there's a
Nice.
couple aspens I have to cut down because one's starting to protrude on the road, and it's starting to like just fall. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to cut down an aspen, but and then there's a few dead trees hanging around. So yeah,
Yeah, it'll be good.
yeah,
They should
um,
understand. While we're talking
yeah,
about bonsais, I'll just show you mine.
yeah. Let's see it.
This is a jade. It's probably like, I don't know, some people don't consider like bonsais or succulents to be bonsais because they aren't an actual tree. But there's plenty of things that people bonsai that aren't actual trees, so I still think it's kind of a bonsai.
Do you have a juniper or anything like that?
No, I don't have any of the actual like tree bonsais, so
Yeah.
I guess this is the
What?
closest thing I have. This is a rubber plant, and it's kind
Okay.
of bonsaiing it. These things in the wild get huge. I did a plant of the week talk on them already, but this thing is just, you can see the stalks kind of getting woody down here, and then there's a whole bunch of new growth, but I cut it hard at the top right there, maybe like
Is
4 months ago. So.
is it just the reason why you don't have a juniper or a hornbeam just because it's too much work?
No, I would be interested in one. I have access to so many plants, so it's like for me buying a plant is like it's kind of hard just because I get so many for free and there's so many different ones already that there's not really one that I'm like, oh, I want that one so bad, I'm gonna go buy it. So that's
Okay.
kind of where I'm at. I
Um,
want a Norfolk pine. That's one I've considered going out and
N-
buying.
Norfolk pine.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're like soft pine trees that you grow inside. They're indoor plant.
I'll have to look at it. Is it what's it like? Oh, I see. I've seen them before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Yeah,
it like taking care of them?
they're pretty easy. They just need like a sunny window and then they can get really big. They can get like 6 to 8, or probably way bigger than that. But I have a neighbor who has one in his window and it's like 8 feet tall and it looks so
Really?
cool.
Would so with the bonsai, if I were to take care of one, a juniper realistically, so does it need to be outside, or can it just sit in my south-facing window and get enough nutrients?
I think that's kind of just because Montana's so harsh, I think that's the method I would go because it's either you can make an environment inside that's kind of like suitable for it to live indoors, or you can try and like take it inside and outside. Like there's two different ways you could do it. And I think that maybe for you it'd be easier to make an indoor area that's kind of like more similar to the outdoor, but not so much that you'd have to like move it in and out all the time.
Yeah, because I
Trying to
definitely
think,
would like.
cause
I'd like to get one, but taking care of it, just I would hate to kill it. Is basically what it comes
yeah,
down to. Um, and then in the dormancy, in the winter, how much light does it need inside if it's in dormancy?
not
If I were to
very
get it real light,
much. Yeah, not
yeah,
very much at all. I would try and match the days, honestly. So like sometimes like in the wintertime, my plant light, I'll turn it down to about 11 hours of light a day. And
hmm
that's probably still even too much for like a juniper that's
for a
in
juniper
dormancy. You could probably get away with like 6 hours of light and
6.
then yeah, and then just keep it at like 40 degrees, and then as it, as the spring kind of, you could change it to 12, then 13 or whatever, and then warm it up a little, and then that's basically going to be the perfect kind of environment for that thing to do whatever you want to do with it.
Cool. I dig it. That was some fun talk on some bonsai.
Yeah, I'm excited. I might try and get something going a little bit more seriously in the bonsai department because I don't have anything like that, and they're cool.
Well, it'd be cool if you do it, we could do it together and talk about it and just like see what
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I can get some pointers on how to keep it alive, but also just kind of see what it does over the next couple of years. That's the thought of having a bonsai for however long, for 10 for decades and all that, and passing it down to family or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
like that idea. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah,
Yep, it is cool until you pass it to somebody who lets it die.
that's fair. Yeah,
That would
that's
be
very
sad,
fair.
right?
Oh
80-year-old
God.
tree, and you're like, I'm giving this to you, and then a year later,
Oh
they're like,
God.
fuck.
That would suck.
Grandpa, I'm sorry.
Man. Well, let's move on to the photo of the week. That was a good conversation on plants. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice.
I 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, I took some photos of business portraits for a gentleman I know in town. He is a ceramicist, Nathan Goddard, really good
Is that
artist.
like a pot? Is that a potter or
Yeah, yeah,
ceramicist?
yep,
Okay.
yep. And yeah, he works. I have a couple other pictures I can send you, but he was working in he works in ceramics, does really beautiful work, and so he asked me to come down and to his place and do some portraits for him and his I think they're married, his wife. And she is also starting a podcast, and so we did some business portraits for her too.
Nice.
Yeah, it
What's
went
her
well.
podcast on?
And she's just starting it up, so like she hasn't officially hasn't started yet. So once it gets going, we'll maybe have to touch base with her and
Bring
chat
her
about it.
on. Talk
Yeah.
about some art. Seems fun.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I've met him a few years back, and he ran the ceramics department in Red Lodge for a while. Or there's a ceramic store here in Red Lodge, and he ran that program for a while. And
Cool.
yeah, there's not really much to say about it, but it was just a fun time with him, and great to talk to him. He's gonna go, I think, to Spain, or he's going somewhere out in that vein of the world for I think a month
For art?
to I think for art. Yeah, yep. I can't remember if it's to teach classes or what, but yeah, he's very talented. So definitely check out his work if you guys have the time.
Nice. Yeah, he does like some stuff on the wheel, it looks like. That's cool.
Yeah, and then he has a kiln. I have a couple pictures of him in front of his kiln. Um, his house is really beautiful out here in Red Lodge. It has a lot of natural light, and what I miss and like growing up in Alpine is we had that wood stove, and so I'm going to a lot of these houses, and they have a nice, really wood stove to heat the house, and I miss like I'm so fortunate, and I love where I live. But the one thing I wish I had was just a wood stove, because there's nothing like chopping wood and this putting stoking the fire, putting wood in there to keep your house warm. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's also just kind of a different feel as far as the heat goes, like the heat
Yeah,
of a wood stove in a house, it just feels a little different than electric heat or
so much
gas
so.
heat.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I really don't have
But
anything else to add to that.
yeah,
I
I was
might,
just gonna say I like the one of them with their dog. I feel like you
yeah,
nailed the photo. Like the dog's looking perfectly at you, and so are they. So yeah, it's
yeah.
perfect.
He's a cute boy. He when I first opened the door, he like lunged at me and hit me right in my biscuits. It did not hurt, man. He got me good, but he was a cute
That's
boy. He was a
fun.
really sweet puppy. Yeah,
Does he
he's a good
play with
dog.
your pups or?
No, I didn't bring them.
Mm,
One, I just didn't know what. Yeah, it was just a lot going on, so I didn't bring them. It was a busy day,
yeah.
busy week for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, man. What else? Anything else you want to touch on?
I feel like there was something. What was
I
it?
don't know.
I'm drawing a blank, honestly.
Cool. What do you got going on this weekend? and chat about what we got going
Hmm.
on.
Yeah. Just mostly like the stuff that you don't really want to do, kind of thing. I got to do some laundry. I got to do some dishes.
Catch up.
Ashley and I need to, yeah, Ashley and I need to have a little meeting about finances, and
Yeah,
it's all good stuff. But yeah, it's just not always the most fun. So.
yeah, I hear that. I'll be chopping some wood today. Excited. I gotta get some firewood for this house because we were running out and it was really cold the last couple weeks. And yeah,
So you got, you do have a fire stove in your house, or?
I don't, but the house across from me has a
Oh, I
fireplace.
see.
Has a
So you
fireplace,
like
so
you just prep wood for
I'm
when people
prepping the
come.
wood. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, man.
That's
Well,
a
I
good
think.
workout for
Oh yeah.
sure.
Well, the thing is I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna go get a pick up a trailer, and then I'm gonna bring it over here, and I'm gonna cut the wood down as I head down the road with Mitch, and then we're gonna put the logs on the trailer, and then we're gonna take them to the house, and there's a wood cutter, a wood splitter, and so it's
Ah.
gonna be it should be smooth. So yeah,
Hopefully the trees are dry enough. I've tried to split wood that's not dry enough, and it's impossible.
I think I don't know if it's a good thing that it's been so cold, but maybe the cold will dry these trees a little bit. I don't know. Tell me more.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah, I
if
don't know
that's
either,
my logic.
honestly.
My logic. Okay.
Especially with aspens, they can just fucking send nutrients and water, and it's like if they didn't think that aspen was dead, they'll probably just keep it alive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this tree will come back, right? When I cut it down, if I don't take the roots out.
Yeah,
It,
probably. It'll have
that's
like a
cool. Yeah,
sucker or two.
yeah, that's all right. As long because it's just the way it's. If a big truck comes through, the truck's gonna start to hit the whole like the trunk. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, but, cool man.
Nice,
Well,
dude.
let's call it.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, good luck chopping some wood today, and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too. All right, peace, guys.
Later, guys.